I want you all to join with me on a little journey. Let's go back a couple of decades. It's summertime. We're on Church Avenue, a thoroughfare in Brooklyn. We're inside a little movie theater called the Beverly. There's a young man, a high school student. He's working there evenings as an usher. And his job is to hold the flashlight and direct people to their seats in the dark after the movie has already begun. And he's also supposed to go over to the patrons who break the rules by smoking and politely asking them to please put out your cigarettes. If you're wondering, yes, that person was me. During the day, I was a counselor in a very fine Jewish day camp on Long Island. And then I worked the evening shift at the theater to save a few extra dollars. And there was a really nice part to the job. I got to see movies for free. And they were all first-run films. Now, it wasn't digital in those days, so they would project the films from these very large reels. And then they would play them over and over and over again for days, even weeks, especially if the movie was a big hit. And I remember that summer. The big hit was a romantic drama called Love Story. And it was starring Ryan O'Neal and Ali McGraw. The movie was about Oliver Barrett IV. He was a wealthy Harvard law student, and Jennifer Cavallari, a working-class music student at Radcliffe. And despite coming from very different backgrounds, they fell deeply in love. But Oliver's wealthy father disapproved of the relationship and cut him off financially when the couple got married. The film follows Oliver and Jennifer's happy life together while Oliver worked his way through law school. But their joy is shattered when they learn that Jennifer is diagnosed with leukemia. And knowing her time is short, they cherish their remaining days together. Now, movie critics were really mixed about this film. Some thought it was overly sentimental, melodramatic, a superficial, a cliched plot. Others thought it succeeded as a powerful, emotional tearjerker with solid performances and a very memorable musical score. As for the public, they loved it. It was a massive commercial success, and it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. So I got to watch the film over and over and over again. I got to listen to the dialogue over and over and over again. So I got to know virtually every line by heart. And there was one line in particular that became the famous tagline of the movie. In case you don't know, it's love means never having to say you're sorry. And so that's when the great debate began. Was it true that if your love for someone is absolute and unconditional, there's never a need to apologize because you already know you are forgiven? Or, as others argued, real relationships require accountability. When we hurt one another, even unintentionally, an apology is vital for healing. It's a necessary and healthy component of a mature relationship. I don't remember what the discussion at the time was in synagogues or amongst the rabbis, but I would take a guess that the consensus of Jewish thought then and now would be that, of course, if you hurt someone by deed or by word, by commission or omission, an apology is necessary. It's part of teshuvah, repentance. It's the central theme of these high holy days. In fact, Rambam, Maimonides, in his Code of Jewish Law says you have to ask for forgiveness even up to 3 times if it's necessary. Now, we all know folks who will never apologize. But I think they fall into 2 categories. And I want to tell you that I sympathize with both of them. There are those who inhabit a really tough neighborhood in life, whether it's in their business or in their social setting, where apologies are considered a sign of extreme weakness. And to survive in that milieu, they feel you simply cannot say, I'm sorry, and show vulnerability. And I know some people who are really good people, and I understand that. And then there are some folks whose psychological makeup is such that they're just simply not able to withstand admitting wrongdoing. There's a certain fragility of the self, of the ego, and I understand that too, and I have compassion for those folks. But here is an important thing. The apology is not only for the benefit of the one who is hurt or aggrieved, it's also for the benefit of the one who causes the pain. It is totally unburdening to admit error and to ask to be forgiven. And let's look at the other side as well. Just as we should be able to say, I am sorry, we should also be able to forgive. Forgiveness allows individuals to release the weight of resentment and anger. Holding on to grudges fuels chronic stress. It amplifies anxiety and depression, even causes physical health problems. The Torah famously tells us, Al tikom v'al titor, do not seek revenge, do not carry a grudge. And the late esteemed rabbi and psychiatrist Abraham Twersky, Zechat Tzadik Lefracha, he would say, when discussing grudges and resentment, that we should not let others live rent-free in our minds. When you allow the offender to continue to occupy mental and emotional space rent-free long after the event has passed. Now, there's something even deeper that I want to relate to you, something I discovered over the years. It took me a while. I found that if someone by deed or by word does or says something that I may find a little bit hurtful, and it's clear to me that they are in the wrong, and yet it is so unburdening and liberating for me to try really hard to find somehow, even if just in a small way, that I contributed to that situation. I would rather acknowledge a tiny fraction of guilt than to carry excessive anger or hold a grudge against the other person for the wrong that they have committed. And then there's a special case. Sometimes the wrong that someone commits is so severe, you just have to hear the words, I'm sorry. And I know of someone who went to enormous lengths to get that apology. In fact, he crossed the ocean. He crossed the ocean just to hear the words, I am sorry. I'm going to tell you about it. It's the story of a young man. It took place some decades back in the land of Israel. His name is Joshua Prager. And I recently reread parts of his book called Half-Life, Reflections from Jerusalem on a Broken Neck. He was only 19 years old. He spent some time studying in Israel. And he relates how that summer he had grown 5 inches while in Israel. And he was so proud and reveling in his new strong body, he did thousands of push-ups to celebrate. And then suddenly, he's traveling on this minibus near Jerusalem, and a speeding truck comes crashing into the bus. It was a horrific accident, and it broke his neck. He recounts the terribly difficult path from being a quadriplegic relying on a ventilator to the slow process of regaining enough function to rebuild his life. What caught my attention in recent days was a TED Talk lecture that I hadn't previously seen. In it, Prager is giving a talk, and he describes how many years after that accident, he returned to Israel to search for the truck driver who had caused the crash. And his motivation was very simple. It was not to express anger. He just wanted to meet him. He wanted to hear the man say, "I am sorry." So he goes to Israel. He searches, and he finally locates the man. His name was Abed. And he manages to visit him in his home. He even brought him some Turkish desserts as an offering. And they conversed for a while. And Abed spoke about all his suffering throughout the years. And he talked and talked and talked, but he could not offer an apology. He would not offer an apology. He simply could not express remorse for the suffering he caused others. He only spoke about his own pain. Ultimately, Prager saw that Abed was not a monstrous villain. He was simply a very limited man. He was a man who had to live with just his own narrative, his own story, and his own defenses. So I've been thinking about the movie and the memoir, Love Story and Half-Life. Both clearly are all about saying, "I'm sorry." But they are really about so much more. They are about the fact that life changes in an instant. Sometimes it changes in an instant in not a very good way. And then you have to decide, what next? Where do you go from there? For Oliver and Jennifer, the change was the diagnosis. For Prager, the moment the imagery before his eyes changed from the beautiful hills of Jerusalem to the wreckage of metal, to his body that could no longer even move. We all have moments when things change. They change in an instant. For us, or we know of someone for whom it has. And the question is, how do we go on when in an instant everything is different and not in the way that we would want? Sudden loss redraws the borders of life. It leaves us staring at a gap, the gap between what we expected, what we hoped for, and now what is possible. In the movie, Jennifer and Oliver choose to embrace that time they have and not to sink into despair. For Prager, it meant choosing to live fully each and every day. Yes, he carries the scar, but he does not let it define his horizon. Prager's story is really quite inspirational. He still suffers partial paralysis in half of his body, and yet he has recovered enough to become an acclaimed author and a journalist. Are there any baseball fans here? So you may know there's something called the shot heard around the world. That was the epic home run by, thank you, Bruce, by Bobby Thompson of the New York Giants. In the year 1951, he was playing for the Giants against the Brooklyn Dodgers for the National League Pennant Championship at the Polo Grounds. Please. Thank you, thank you. Bruce, do you want to come up here and finish my sermon? Prager wrote about that home run. He wrote a whole book about it. And he revealed to the world something nobody knew, that the Giants were, how should I put this, not playing fully kosher. You need the details, see me after Yom Kippur. Prager more recently wrote another book, and he revealed the facts that nobody knew about Roe v. Wade, the very famous Supreme Court case. And I hope so much that he will continue to tell us interesting things about things that we do not know. His stories tell us a great deal about recovering from tragedy and from loss. But we can't all be great writers. We can't all follow exactly his path to healing and recovery. But there is one thing that we can do. I spoke on Rosh Hashanah about one particular prayer, Hineni. Hineni, the word means, here I am. It's a word that is echoed across our tradition from Abraham to Moses to Isaiah. It means I stand ready. I'm ready even in moments of fear, uncertainty, or loss. I'm ready to share my presence, to involve myself with others. Even in my moment of grief, I can be there for others, because there are others whose grief is heavier than mine. When I say Hineni, I mean I am here to walk beside you in sorrow and in healing. I'm here to be part of this sacred community that holds one another up when the world around us feels like it is falling apart. So as we move forward into this new year, I hope that each and every one of us will have the courage and the strength to say, Hineni, I am here. And I hope that we will know deep in our hearts that we are all here together, that we never, ever need to be alone. Gemar Chatima Tova, may we be sealed in the book of life. Amen.